My grandma told me never to uncover the mirror at the end of the hallway, but I did. And now, something that looks like me wants to take my place. My grandma's house always felt a little off, but I chalked it up to being old and way out in the middle of nowhere. My parents used to drop me off there for a couple weeks every summer, said it was good for me to unplug and get away from the city. It wasn't bad, honestly. She cooked a lot, had a big garden, and the Wi-Fi sucked so bad you didn't even try. But the house, it had this kind of stillness to it. Not peaceful still. Just still, like the walls were holding their breath. Anyway, this last summer I stayed there. I was 17. Not a kid anymore, too old to be babysat, but they insisted. Said grandma had been feeling a little off and could use company. I agreed, because she's cool and honestly I didn't mind the break. When I got there, nothing looked different. Same chipped paint on the porch. Same hummingbird feeders by the window. Same dusty smell that hits you when you walk in. She hugged me real tight and told me she was glad I was there. That's when I noticed she looked thinner than before. Eyes a little darker underneath. I asked if she was sleeping okay, and she laughed and said, "That depends on the mirror." I thought she was joking. She made tea, we talked about school, and I settled into the guest room like always. Except this time she told me not to use the room at the end of the hall. I asked why, and she said, "Too much dust, I'll clean it later." But the way she said it felt weird, like it wasn't really about the dust. I didn't push it. The next day I was helping her bring boxes down from the attic, and I noticed she kept glancing at the hallway like she was waiting for something to come out of it. I asked if she was okay, and she said, "I just hate when that door is open." The door was shut. I didn't get it. That night, after she went to sleep, I got curious. I walked to the end of the hall, turned the knob, and went in. Nothing special at first. Just another old guest room. Quilt on the bed, yellow wallpaper, old dresser. But then I saw it. In the corner next to the window there was this massive mirror. It had a thick wooden frame, carved with vines and faces, that looked almost alive in the dim light. The glass was cloudy, and it was covered with a heavy sheet like someone tried really hard to forget it was there. Naturally, I pulled the sheet down. And for a second nothing happened. It was just a mirror. But as I stared at it longer, I realized something was off. My reflection wasn't matching me exactly. The way I stood, the way I tilted my head, it was always half a second behind, like it was thinking about what to do next. I reached forward, touched the glass, cold, but not like normal cold. This was deep cold, bone deep. I backed away, pulled the sheet back up, left the room, didn't say a word to Grandma the next morning. She didn't ask, but she did look at me for a long time while I was pouring cereal. Later that day, I met this little girl who lived next door. Or maybe 2 houses down. Hard to say, there aren't many out here. Her name was Lily. She was maybe 6, real quiet, wore this faded blue dress, and no shoes. She asked if I was staying with the mirror lady. I laughed, said I was staying with my grandma. She said, "That's what I said." I asked what she meant. She said, "The mirror watches. It used to like my brother, but now it's yours." That sentence stuck in my head all day. That night, I heard a noise from the mirror room. A tapping, slow, like fingernails on glass. I stayed in bed, headphones in, volume up, pretending I didn't hear anything. But I couldn't sleep. Around 2 a.m., I cracked open my door and peeked down the hall. The mirror room door was open. Just a little. I know I shut it. I walked down slowly. Every step felt like it took forever. When I reached the door, I felt that cold again, just pouring out like air conditioning set to winter. I didn't go in, I just closed the door. This time, I locked it. The next day I asked Grandma, straight up, what was with the mirror. She went quiet, didn't blink for a long time, then said, "Some things reflect more than they should." I waited, but that was all she gave me. She said it like a warning, like a rule. That night, I dreamed I was looking into the mirror, only I wasn't in the reflection. The room was empty. Then I saw someone else walk into frame. A tall figure, skin gray, eyes black like wet stone. It put its hand against the glass. I woke up, with my own hand pressed flat against the wall. I didn't sleep the rest of that night. I sat in the kitchen until the sun came up, And when Grandma came down and saw me, she didn't say anything. Just poured me tea and said, "It's better if you don't feed it attention." Feed what? I didn't ask. I didn't want to know. I told myself I'd stay away from the mirror. That was the deal. No more peeking, no more touching, no more trying to figure it out. But you know how that goes. It's like telling yourself not to scratch a bite. The more I tried to ignore it, the louder it got in my head. That whole next day was just weird. Grandma acted like nothing was wrong. She gardened, made soup, talked about the weather like it wasn't crawling all over us with that sticky pressure. I asked her if she remembered Lily, the neighbor girl. She stiffened up immediately. "She doesn't come around here anymore," she said, and that was it. She wouldn't say why. Wouldn't even look at me when I said her name again, so I went walking. Figured I'd go see if Lily was real, or if I was going crazy. I found her near the woods behind the house, just sitting there in the grass, pulling petals off some flower like she was in a movie. She smiled when she saw me, but not in a happy way. More like she was expecting me. I asked, "What did you mean the mirror was mine now?" She looked at me like that was a stupid question. "It looks back at you," she said. "You looked first. That's how it knows." I asked her who told her that. She said her brother did. Then she pointed at the woods and said he lives out there now. I asked if he ran away. She said no. He just went too far in, and now the trees won't let him out. I laughed, not because it was funny, but because I didn't know what else to do. She didn't laugh. She said, "You should cover the mirror again. It doesn't like being seen." When I got back to the house, Grandma was sweeping the porch. She looked at me and said, "She's not your friend. Don't go near her." I wanted to ask if she meant Lily, but part of me didn't want the answer. That night, I didn't sleep. I lay in bed with the covers over my head like I was 5 years old again, listening. Just listening. And I swear, around 3 a.m., I heard footsteps. Not creaky old house sounds. Actual footsteps. Slow. Measured. Like bare feet on wood. I sat up, heart racing, and opened my door just a crack. The hallway was pitch black. Except the mirror room door was open again. Wide this time. The sheet I'd pulled back days ago was now on the floor. And even in the dark, I could see something standing in front of it. Not moving. Just standing. I couldn't breathe. I closed the door. Locked it. Got back in bed and pressed my head to the pillow so hard it hurt. I don't know how long I stayed like that. At some point I must have passed out. When I woke up, it was bright out. Birds chirping. Grandma humming in the kitchen like none of it happened. I almost convinced myself it was a dream. But then I noticed something. The mirror room? The door was closed again. But not all the way. And my bedroom door. It was unlocked. I remember locking it. I know I did. I asked Grandma later that morning if she ever walked around at night. She looked at me over her glasses and said, "Do you think I opened that door?" I didn't answer. She poured more tea and said, "It only opens for the one it chooses." I asked her what the hell that meant. She said, "Some reflections aren't meant to be seen. They come from where we're not supposed to go." And that was the end of the conversation. That evening, I sat outside on the porch for hours. I didn't want to go back in. I watched the sky turn pink, then gray, then black. The woods behind the house were still, too still. I thought maybe I'd sleep out there. Avoid the mirror. But Grandma called me in, around 9, said it gets cold at night, and it likes when you're weak. I didn't even ask what she meant. I just went to bed, tried to sleep, told myself I wouldn't look, I wouldn't go back, I wouldn't touch the mirror. But just before I fell asleep, I heard a knock. Not on the front door. Not from the hallway. A soft, hollow knock. From the wall right behind my bed, the one that connects to the mirror room. 3 knocks. Slow. Then nothing. I didn't tell Grandma about the knocking. I didn't tell her I stayed up until 5 a.m. with my back pressed against the far wall of my bedroom, eyes fixed on the door, just waiting to hear it again. I didn't even tell her that when the sun finally came up and I went to check, the mirror room door was wide open and the sheet was gone, not on the floor, Not in the room. Just gone. I didn't tell her any of that because I think she already knew. She just gave me this long look over her glasses and said, "You look pale, you dream again?" I nodded, even though I hadn't slept. She nodded back like that made sense. That day I tried to act normal, helped in the garden, took out the trash, read a book on the porch. But the whole time I could feel it. Not hear, not see, just feel. Like when someone stares at you from across the street, and you don't even have to look to know they're doing it. Like static in your teeth. Around noon I saw Lily again. She was at the edge of the woods, just standing there, holding a stick. She waved and I walked over. Asked her if her brother really lived in the forest. She said, "He talks to me sometimes." I asked how. She said, "In the mirror." But it's not him anymore. It just wears his shape. That sentence made my skin crawl. I asked her what it wanted. She shrugged and said, "To be seen. That's how it gets in." Then she smiled and said, "You've been feeding it a lot." That night I moved a chair in front of the mirror room door. Dumb, I know. Like a piece of wood and some legs would stop whatever the hell was happening. But I needed to feel like I had some control. Like I could choose whether or not to open it again. Around 2 a.m. I woke up to the sound of the chair scraping across the floor. I didn't get up, I didn't move. I just lay there, eyes wide open, listening as the door creaked slowly, inch by inch. Then stopped. Nothing for a full minute. Then footsteps, bare feet on the hallway floor. Not fast, not heavy, just slow, careful, getting closer. I pulled the blanket over my face and pretended to be asleep. Because apparently, I'm 5 years old again, and that's all my brain could do. The footsteps stopped right outside my door. I didn't look. I couldn't. I just held my breath and prayed I wouldn't hear anything else, and for a long time I didn't. But just as I was starting to believe maybe it had gone away, I heard breathing. Close, on the other side of the door. Slow and steady. Then a whisper. My name. But it wasn't Grandma's voice. It was mine. I heard my own voice say my name, like a question. Then it giggled. Quiet. Broken. Like it didn't quite know how to laugh. I must have passed out. Because when I opened my eyes, it was morning. My door was wide open. The hallway was empty. The chair was back where I left it, but now there were footprints. Bare feet. Damp, like someone had just stepped out of the shower. They led from the mirror room to my bed. Then back again. I followed them. Slowly. Into the room. The mirror was uncovered again. Of course. But something had changed. The reflection wasn't just behind. It was wrong. The room looked the same. But not. The quilt on the bed in the mirror had a pattern I'd never seen. The wallpaper was peeling in places it wasn't in real life. And standing in the far corner, in the reflection, was someone. Someone shaped like me. Head tilted. Not moving. I blinked. He didn't. I raised my hand. He didn't copy me. I stepped back. He stepped forward. I slammed the sheet over the glass and ran. I almost left the house that day. Packed my bag. Stood at the front door, with my hand on the knob. But Grandma was sitting in her chair, looking at me. "It's not done with you," she said, not even turning her head. "If you leave now, it follows." I asked her what it was. She didn't answer, just said, "It chose you." I thought I could stop it, but I was wrong. It never wanted me. That night I locked myself in my room again. Pushed the dresser in front of the door. Didn't sleep, just stared at the crack under the door, until the light changed. And even then I didn't move. Because just before the sun rose, I heard it again. My voice. Whispering through the keyhole. "Let me in. I'm cold out here." I didn't leave my room all day. Grandma knocked once, slid a plate of toast through the crack, didn't say a word. I stared at that toast for hours. I wasn't hungry. I just didn't want to go back into the hallway, didn't want to be near the mirror, didn't want to see what it would show me next. By sunset, I'd convinced myself I could make it to morning. One more night. Just one. Then I'd call my parents, tell them to come early, make something up, say Grandma wasn't doing well, say I wasn't feeling right, anything. But when it got dark, the whole house changed. It always felt quiet, but this time, it felt hollow. Like sound wouldn't bounce off the walls anymore, like I could scream and no one would hear it. Around 10 p.m., the power went out. No thunder, no wind, no warning, just a click. And then nothing. I lit the flashlight on my phone, but the battery was low, 12%. I texted my mom, no service. I texted Lily, yeah, I know she's 6. I didn't care. I just needed someone. The message didn't go through. I sat on the floor, knees to my chest, flashlight shaking in my hand. Then I heard it. The mirror. Humming. Not a sound you hear with your ears, more like something you feel in your jaw, like pressure behind your teeth. It vibrated in my skull. It got louder. Not the volume, but the weight of it, like something pressing through a wall. I turned the flashlight off. I didn't want it to see me. I crawled into the closet and shut the door. Sat there in the dark, breathing through my shirt so I wouldn't make noise. At some point, I must have dozed off. When I woke up, everything was dead silent. No humming, no footsteps, no whispering. I opened the closet door just a crack. My room looked normal, dim gray light leaking through the blinds. I crawled out and checked the hallway. Empty. I walked toward the mirror room, like I was being pulled, like it was gravity. The door was wide open, the mirror uncovered. The air in the room was freezing. Breath visible freezing, but only in that room. I stepped in, just barely, and looked. The reflection was clearer now, sharper than real life. My reflection stood there, smiling. Then it raised its hand and waved. I didn't move. I was frozen. It wasn't mimicking me anymore. It was watching. Behind my reflection, the room was darker. The wallpaper was rotted. The bed was stained. And in the corner, behind my mirror self, something moved. Long arms. No face. Just skin stretched too tight over bone. It put a hand on my reflection's shoulder. He didn't flinch. He just kept smiling. I stepped back. The floor creaked. My reflection didn't. Then it mouthed something. No sound. Just lips, but I understood it. Almost ready. I ran. Down the hall, down the stairs, out the door, barefoot into the dirt. I didn't stop until I hit the fence line. I turned once. Just once. The upstairs light in the mirror room was on. And in the window, something watched me. Not Grandma. Not me. Something taller. Still. Staring. I stayed outside until sunrise. When I finally got the courage to go back in, Grandma was sitting at the table, calm as ever, sipping tea. She looked at me like I'd just come in from a quick errand, said, "It's not done with you. But you gave it a taste. That buys time." I didn't ask what that meant. I didn't want to know. I called my mom, faked a stomach bug. She picked me up that evening. I didn't go back the next summer. Or the one after. Last I heard, Grandma passed. They're selling the house. My mom asked if I wanted to keep anything from it. I said no. She said there's this big mirror that looks expensive, probably antique. I told her to burn it, smash it, do whatever it takes, just don't bring it near me. A week ago, I got a package, no return label. Inside was a note that said, "You left the sheet behind." And folded on top was the dusty white cover from the mirror. I didn't sleep that night. I haven't slept well since. Some nights, when it's really quiet, I hear 3 slow knocks. And sometimes, when I pass by my hallway mirror, just for a second, I see someone else standing behind me, smiling, waiting.